Ever feel like you're watching one of those police shows and they can just pull up a map and see where everyone is?
Oh, yeah?
Like in real time?
Like the video game.
It's like, what is this magic?
Yeah.
Well, turns out that's not just for TV anymore.
Really?
That's what we're diving into today. How geospatial technology is changing the game for modern policing.
Okay.
We found this fascinating webinar from a company called CompassCom, and they're basically making that live map thing a reality.
I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Like
Yeah.
giving first responders the best information
Right.
to, make the best decisions, like faster response times,
Yeah.
officer safety, all that stuff.
Huge. And we'll actually get into some real world examples
Okay.
from the webinar a little bit later on. Like there's this incredible story about a search and rescue team
Wow.
that cut their search time in half
Seriously?
thanks to this technology.
Jeez.
But first, let's just sort of like break down how this all works.
Yeah.
So CompassCom, they take what they call a device agnostic approach.
Device agnostic.
Yeah, so what that means is they can pull location data from all kinds of devices.
Like what?
We're talking police radios, laptops in patrol cars,
Uh-huh.
even body cameras, all onto one platform.
So it's all in one place.
Yeah, instead of having like 5 different systems you're trying to juggle.
Yeah, it's like having this unified command center view.
They were talking about this in the webinar, right? What
Yeah.
was it called? A common operational picture or something?
Common operational picture. COP.
COP.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is it's all built on GIS mapping technology from Esri,
Oh, okay.
which is like super powerful for visualizing all this data.
I mean, that makes sense. You gotta see where everybody is.
Exactly. We're talking about all these high-level concepts, but what does this actually mean for like
Yeah.
the officers on the ground,
The boots on the ground. John Gallagher, the guy who hosted the webinar,
Yeah.
he really emphasized that the game changer is knowing where everybody is at all times.
Okay.
He said, and I quote, "The faster we can locate the appropriate resource to respond to an incident, the better off we are."
Right. Yeah, that just makes sense intuitively.
Yeah. I mean, like in an emergency situation,
Uh-huh.
seconds matter.
Totally.
So, you call 911, dispatch can immediately see, okay, officer so-and-so is closest.
Right.
Send them right away.
And you're not wasting time trying to figure out
Exactly.
who's close.
Is available, all that stuff.
Well.
And it goes beyond just response times, though.
Really?
Like knowing where your fellow officers are can also like increase officer safety.
Okay, I see. Look.
So imagine like an officer is responding to a call. Maybe it's a potentially dangerous situation.
Yeah.
They can discreetly hit a button
Oh, wow.
and their location is sent to dispatch and other units,
Even if they can't talk?
even if they can't get on the radio.
No, that's huge.
It's like a built-in backup system.
Like a safety net.
Yeah, and we keep talking about these like really intense situations,
Yeah.
but this stuff also like makes everyday tasks more efficient.
Oh, really? How so?
Like think about coordinating patrol routes
Huh.
or something as complex as like a search and rescue operation.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing where everyone is, where they've been, that's a huge advantage.
I can only imagine.
Right.
Just knowing, like, we've already been there.
Yeah.
Let's go over here.
They even have this figure called historical replay.
Historical replay.
Yeah, so you can actually replay an entire operation on the map.
So you can see
See where everyone was
how it all went down.
and kind of analyze, how things went.
Like a post-game analysis.
Yeah, basically.
But for policing.
Exactly.
That's pretty neat.
So speaking of real-world examples, remember that story I mentioned earlier about the search and rescue team that cut their search time in half?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So they do this with a feature called breadcrumbs.
Breadcrumbs.
Yeah, so basically the tracking devices, they're constantly sending out these little location updates.
Okay.
It's like leaving a digital trail.
So they can see, like, where they've already been.
Exactly.
So search and rescue teams, they can see, okay, we've already searched this area.
Right.
Let's move on.
So you're not wasting time looking in the same place twice.
Exactly. And Gallagher, he actually mentioned that one of their most active users, who's like heavily involved in search and rescue, this guy, said this technology has completely changed the game for his team.
Wow.
Allowed them to cover twice as much ground in the same amount of time.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
That's potentially like saving lives.
Exactly.
Because you're finding people faster.
It's incredible to think about the real-world impact.
It really is.
But what happens to all this data?
Yeah, where does it all go?
Once it's collected, does it just stay within the department?
Like, is it siloed or something?
Yes,
else?
it's siloed. So what I found interesting about CompassCom is they're really big on collaboration.
They don't hold data hostage. as they put it.
So they share it.
So they make it very easy to share data with other systems like computer-aided dispatch and other SRE-based workflows.
So it's not just about one department having this cool tech. It's about everyone working together.
Exactly. It's about creating this interconnected network where everyone can share critical information. And that seems like a huge step forward for like coordinating emergency response.
Absolutely. It's amazing, right? Like this tech that seemed like something out of the future is now being used to improve safety.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing, but we've been focusing on like the law enforcement side.
Right.
But what about the bigger picture? Like, how does this affect communities as a whole?
Well, I mean, if you think about faster response times,
Yeah.
better resource allocation, that all has a ripple effect.
So like a medical emergency, an ambulance could be dispatched like way quicker.
Exactly, and that could be the difference between
life or death.
Right. Yeah.
It's not just police work, it's like any kind of emergency.
Totally fire natural disaster, even like a traffic accident.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing exactly where resources are needed and getting them there fast, that's huge.
And then there's also like the efficiency part.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, if resources are used more effectively, does that mean like cost savings for taxpayers?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, by optimizing things like patrol routes and resource allocation, you could save money with them, operate more effectively within a budget.
So it's like getting the most bang for your buck.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about the human side of things? Like, does this change the dynamic between law enforcement and the community?
That's a good question, and I think it has the potential to.
How so?
Because think about it. Real-time data can increase transparency and accountability.
Oh, I see.
So if there's ever a question about how police resources were used, there's a record that can be reviewed.
So it's not just about catching criminals, it's about building trust
between
law enforcement and the community they serve.
And that's where it gets really interesting, because as this technology evolves, we could see even more transparency.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, imagine a system where data on police activity is made available to the public.
But like anonymized, right?
Of course, yeah, aggregated and anonymized.
Okay.
But it could allow for like more informed conversations about public safety priorities.
So it's like open data.
Yeah, kind of.
For understanding how law enforcement operates. But there have to be challenges, right? Like when you start talking about sharing this kind of sensitive information.
Oh, absolutely. Data security and privacy are huge.
Yeah.
Any system that collects and shares location data needs to have really strong safeguards.
To prevent misuse?
Right. And unauthorized access.
So I'm curious, like, how does CompassCom address those concerns?
Well, they seem really focused on collaboration, but they also emphasize security. They talk about a multi-layered approach.
So what does that mean?
Well, they use encryption to protect data. They have strict access controls, and they work with agencies to make sure they're complying with all the privacy regulations.
So they're not just throwing this tech out there without thinking about the risks.
Right. They're trying to build in safeguards from the start.
And that's important because trust is essential.
Absolutely.
It sounds like they're trying to find that balance between innovation and responsibility.
Yeah, I think so.
But even with good intentions, there can be unintended consequences when you're dealing with powerful new technologies.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
We can't just assume technology will solve all our problems.
Yeah.
It's important to talk about the ethics, to think about potential challenges.
To adapt our policies.
Exactly.
It's like we need a parallel track.
I like that.
While we develop the tech, we also need to develop like ethical frameworks and guidelines to make sure it's used for good.
I couldn't agree more. Technology is powerful, but it's up to us to decide how to use it.
We need to be thoughtful, deliberate about the future we want to create. This has really opened my eyes to how complex this issue is.
Yeah. It's not simple.
It's not just gadgets and response times. It's like the whole nature of law enforcement and public safety is changing with technology.
And that's what makes it so interesting to talk about.
Right.
There are no easy answers.
Yeah.
But by talking about it, asking tough questions, considering different perspectives, we can try to shape a future where technology is used to enhance safety, build trust.
Right, stronger communities.
Yeah.
It's been a really insightful discussion so far. But before we wrap up, I want to talk about the future. Like, where do you see this tech going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, man, that's where it gets really exciting.
Okay.
Because AI and machine learning are just going to keep advancing.
Right.
So these systems are going to get even more sophisticated.
So what, like, instead of just tracking where things are, they could actually analyze data and predict stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine a system that could predict crime hotspots, or identify patterns that might indicate a threat.
So instead of just reacting to crime, we could actually prevent it.
Right, it becomes more proactive.
Wow.
And as these systems get more connected, they can play a role in a lot more public safety initiatives.
Like what?
Imagine real-time data from traffic cameras, weather sensors, social media.
Oh, wow.
All integrated into one system.
That's like a smart city.
Yeah.
But with a focus on safety.
And it's not just cities either. This tech could revolutionize law enforcement in rural areas too.
Where resources are already stretched thin.
Right. Imagine being able to track officers and resources in those vast remote areas.
That's huge for safety.
And for efficiency.
So technology can actually help bridge that gap between urban and rural areas.
Exactly. Make sure everyone has access to the same level of protection.
That's really cool. And as the technology keeps evolving, we're probably going to see even more creative uses for it.
Oh, for sure. It's a rapidly changing field.
It feels like we're just at the beginning.
Yeah, just scratching the surface.
It's exciting to think about all the possibilities.
It really is.
Like, we're on the cusp of a new era in public safety.
Where technology is helping us create safer, more resilient, more connected communities.
Exactly. I mean, it's amazing to think about, like, where else this could go.
Yeah.
You know, what other applications there might be.
Oh, totally. And you know what struck me in that webinar was how they emphasized working closely with agencies to, like, tailor the technology.
Oh, so it's not just like one size fits all.
No, it's about figuring out, like, what does this department need?
Right.
What are their specific challenges? And how can we adapt the technology?
Yeah.
And as it keeps developing, we're going to see more of that, like, customization and integration.
Huh?
Imagine this real-time data integrated with, like, traffic management, social services.
Oh, wow.
Like a truly interconnected system.
Now that you mention it, Gallagher did talk about that in the webinar.
He did.
He mentioned they're already working with some agencies to integrate their platform with computer-aided dispatch systems.
Oh, wow.
So when a 911 call comes in, the dispatcher can see, like, not only the location of the nearest responders, but also information from the caller's history.
Seriously.
Or about that location.
So they have more context.
Exactly. It's like connecting the dots in a way that just wasn't possible before.
Wow.
So it's not just about tracking dots on a map.
Right. It's about the data.
It's about using data to make better decisions.
Yeah.
Coordinate resources.
And ultimately make communities safer.
But it's not just about reacting to things as they happen.
Yeah.
What's really cool is the potential for using this data proactively.
Like a predicting things.
Yeah, like AI and machine learning, they're going to keep getting better at analyzing data.
And finding patterns.
So you're saying there could be a system that could, like, learn from past events, identify risks, and maybe even predict where and when incidents are likely to occur?
Exactly. Imagine a system that could alert law enforcement to a potential uptick in crime in a certain area.
Okay.
Based on, like, crime data, social media weather patterns, all sorts of things.
It's like a pre-crime unit from Minority Report.
Well, not quite. But the idea is that you could deploy resources more effectively.
Yeah.
And potentially prevent crimes from happening.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a fascinating idea.
But it definitely raises some questions.
Oh, for sure. Like, how do we balance security and privacy?
Right.
But the potential is huge.
Imagine a city where, like, everything is optimized.
Yeah.
Emergency response times are super fast. Data is used to prevent crime.
And keep people safe.
It's a powerful vision of the future.
It is.
And it's clear that this technology is going to be a big part of it.
Absolutely. I mean, there are challenges.
Yeah.
But as long as we have these conversations about the ethics,
right.
As long as we prioritize transparency and accountability.
I think this technology could really make a difference.
I agree.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of geospatial technology and modern policing.
It has.
Thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us.
We hope you learned something new.
Keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep diving deep.
Until next time.
See ya.